Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Can anyone of you let me know in the comments? I guess I am audible. If you can just let me know if everything is going fine, then we can start with the session. Okay. So I guess I'm audible, so I'm going ahead with the session. So today, I, Dipan Roy, on behalf of Developers Club KGEC, welcome all of you to the first webinar by our very own Ayushman. Today we'll be having Ayushman Bilas Thakur, who is a second year CSE undergrad of our own college, Kalyani Government Engineering College, for guiding us towards the developing web applications for our progressive dashboards. Ayushman will be showing us the basics of application-based web development. This webinar is a part of two session series where you will learn the basics of web development to create beautiful dashboards that can interact with physical devices, that is Internet of Things. So guys, you will witness a live coding where Ayushman will take you through the designing and interfacing process of an web app. This will be a short live coding session which will have a follow through. Our very next webinar speaker, Ritankar, will be guiding on 6th of February using this specified dashboard by interfacing it with a IoT based node or a development board like NodeMCU or something like that. Hope you guys enjoy the entire session. You can go ahead and try the live code after the session is over. All the code that has been done in this session will be shared over GitHub repositories from the official DCKGC handle. So please make sure that you follow our GitHub page and also our Facebook page for the latest updates. I will be handing over the session to Ayushman in a very few minutes. Please bear till then.
Hello everyone. Can you please tell me that I'm audible or not and my screen is visible or not? Okay. Okay. So today's session is basically on developing applications for the web. So what my plan is with today session is will be live coding dashboard or admin panel kind of thing where I am going to cover designing web apps responsively and doing some API requests as well to get data from the backend. And I will be also updating contents from the data fetched from the backend using the API. So it will be a bit heavy on the CSS and the JavaScript kind of things. And so let's get started and see how this goes. Okay. So to start off with, who am I? I am Ayushman Bilas Thakur. I am second year BTech student CSE in Kalyani Government Engineering College, and I have some internship experiences as well. So, what is a web app? So, anything you can open in browser is website, and if app means if you can do something with it, then you can call it an app. So anything interactive, productive, that if it is on the web, then you can call it a web app. So why we make web app? So the basic things why we make a web app is, first of all, we don't need to install anything on any device, and once hosted, then you can access a web app from almost anywhere you want, your desktop, be it your desktop, your tab, your mobile devices, anywhere. Okay. So, and another feature of web apps is you write the code once, means you write all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript things once, and you can upload this code to any server. And once it is uploaded, you can run from anywhere. Okay, so the next thing will be how web apps work. So basically, there are three components of web applications, and um, not always you will need all the three components, but here are the basic three components according to me. So there is database where you can store the data, means the user data or that kind of thing. Means if you have an user account interface, then you can store user ID, its hashed password, and all the other kinds of things. If user has some contents in your website, then or web app, then you can store the contents in it. So using that content and other things can be done. So that's the database part. The backend interfaces between the database and the front end of our web application. So from the front end, we send requests to the backend to fetch data from the database, or we can send any intensive to ask the back sorry we can ask the backend to do any processor intensive task which cannot be done in the front end, like suppose machine learning kind of things. So that can be processed in the backend side, and the results can be transferred then to the front end. Though I know nowadays the um, libraries like TensorFlow enables us to have machine learning on the front end, but if there was if there was any heavy task, then we can do that in the back end as well. So next thing will be what will be making live today. So this is the dashboard I am going to make today. So here is the yeah, light thing. I think means the device turn on and off thing. So here right now I am showing weather from an API. So here is the temperature and the weather condition. So, and here is some value setting, means here is a slider, so you can slide the values from 0 to 100 and set them like that. So this will be the basic thing I will be trying to make. So let's see how it goes. Hoping for the best. So let's, it will be the time to start our live code. But before that, just, oh, sorry, just a second. So I have an app version of this app ready, and let me show you how this works. So just a second, let it open. Can you please come over here? Okay. So here is the app. You can see this is the live version of, means sorry, not live. This is the local hosted version of this app. So these nav links doesn't work. So I have implemented them just to show the basic responsive kind of thing. So here is the light turn on and off thing where you can turn on. Okay, so it notifies that status change successfully. So it shows the green to show that it is turned on right now, and the text shows that if you click on it, it will be turned off. So clicking on it, status changed successfully, and it is now off. So all the things are now in JavaScript, and probably in the next webinar it will be implemented for IoT devices. So currently the weather is fetched from an open weather API. I will be discussing about that while we code the actual app. And so here's the set values thing where we can change the intensity, and you can see the value is also updated here. So let's see how the coding goes. I will be closing this one now, and we will start from scratch once I turn that off. Okay, so here's an empty folder, and we will open it up with Visual Studio Code. It's my favorite coding environment, I can say. So let's start with the index.html. Okay, so I have in VS Code we have this extension kind of thing called emit. So once we write this exclamation and hit tab, a bunch of code is filled up. Just means it is just for better code. So here are some meta tags and this and that. So I will be changing the title to dashboard. Okay. So let's get started. So in the body, I will be first writing, I will start with the markup actually. So let's just start with the div. So starting with the div, then we will have the navigation. So I am copying the code because it will save some time. So let's just copy this and paste it. So here is the nav with um, class classes. That here is the nav. Inside the nav, we have a div with class container. So why I have given it a class is just to adjust some properties of it. So there is the branding of this dashboard. So the web dashboard 0.1. So this is the thing where actually second, let me open this thing up. Okay, so okay, so here is this. This is the branding. So this will go be um, going. This is the that thing. So then we have an unordered list for the navigation, and there are list items there with the links in it. So li, and inside that we have the a tag. So they are currently referencing to nowhere. So I have given them a class of nav link to style them for later, and the active class is for an active link, as you can assume. So let's move on with the HTML. Let me just format it a bit. Okay. So next thing to do will be having our main container. So the beautiful thing about emit is that if you write this and hit tab, then the code is auto-filled with the class. So now I will be writing up the each one with welcome user. So that's that. So next thing I will be going to is the let me bring the picture once again if I can. Okay, so this is the code I wrote just now. Means this container and then the welcome user part. I have written that right now. So the next thing will be I will be coding this, the turn on and off thing. So I will be having it inside a section. So writing that section and hitting tab will auto complete that. So now just one second. Okay, I will be wrapping all the sections in another div with the class of section container. This is just because so that I can design them like this, means so that this goes one after the another. So that's why I am wrapping them around in another div. You will see later when I go for the CSS part. So then we have our first section of the turn on and off things. So I will be again pasting some codes just to be a bit faster. So here is the heading, turn on and off things. So here is class of buttons list. So here this class is just for styling them so that they appear one after the other in a row. So next thing will be inside that there is button container. So that means the button and the text remain in a container so that we can group them together and place them as we want. So there is light 1 and light 2 right now just for the markup. Later we will be changing this via JavaScript. So just let's go to the next part. So that will be doing the weather. So for the weather, I will be doing this. Uh, sorry. Okay. So next, again, let me weather new. So then I will be having this weather item thing. So let me just copy it. So this will be here. So this is the weather item. So I have given this idea of condition just to show the weather condition so that we can when we fetch from the API the weather, then we can change this paragraph text via JavaScript. So next will be, so I will copy this and we will have the temperature here. So this will be given an idea of temp. So that will be, let's say today's temperature is 22 degrees Celsius. Now, one thing I will like to mention here is that you cannot write degree from keyboard. So here is this thing, ampersand DEG, comma. So these are some things I don't know exactly what they are called, but they help us to place the characters which are not passed by HTML properly. So if, for example, if we, let's just have a look at this app right now. How does it look? Wait a second. Let's just open it. Let's just see what does it look. It looks, I know it looks horrible. So if we had some some spaces here. So right now, let me show you. So in the end, there is no space for the 22 degrees Celsius. So if we add spaces here and save it, it doesn't take that space. Means I wanted to have 4 spaces, but the code formatted for 1 space. And let me see in the browser. So the space is not coming here. So how to place that? So we will write ampersand and s ndsp, sorry. So saving this will let us have empty spaces at the end of the, so you can see here there is a space after the Celsius wording. So these are kind of useful. So with that you can, with this kind of thing you can write greater than, less than, and many more. So I won't be wasting any more time in this portion, and let's just move on to the final section. So that will be for our slider. So let's have a look. This is the slider holder. So that will be in another section. So let's just do that. Set values. That will be that. And the next thing will be to have the list of the sliders. So I will be having a div for that with slider list. So that's the div. And the next thing will be to have those ranges. So what I will do is div dot slider container. So let's just do that, and inside here we will have an h3 for item 1. This is currently the placeholder kind of thing, and later we will be using the JavaScript to fill up this, and the light thing also will be later fill up with JavaScript. And for the weather, we are going to fetch it from Open Weather API. I will be showing that later. So, so all these are just mock-ups to make our style properly. So let's just move on with the thing. So I will be having a hasty way to just a second to give a bold text with the strong tags. Okay, so that will be these are the values, these values actually. Okay, so then we have the slider input column range. These are called range inputs in. So I won't be having any name or ID for now. So the min will be set to 0. I know for 0 and 100, you don't need to set all these. These are the default, but writing this will help others to understand that you are doing this thing. So the value, let's just set it to 17 right now. And so we'll be copying this again to have, okay, item 2, and the value we are going to set here is 17. So that was 71 actually. Okay, then I should go to that 17 and do this one 71, so that these two things match. And so here is the HTML part complete. Let's see how does it look. So here is it. It looks horrible right now, but we will be adjusting it with CSS. So the next job will be to create a new file for the style. That will be style.css, and we will be linking this to our HTML. So that will be link CSS. So link related to style sheet, and the href means the reference to the file. So that's our style.css. So our style.css is linked, and the first thing I love to do while styling any web page is to reset all the things. Means we will be setting the margin to 0, padding to 0. So in this case, you don't need to write the unit. The web browser automatically understands that if you are calling it 0, then it is 0 for everything. So then I love to do this one thing, that box sizing border box. So what it does is that having the box sizing as border box will make the borders also included while you are sizing things. So if you have sized a div as for 400 pixels, then you are giving it a border, then the border is not counted in that 400 pixels. That goes extra. If you are giving 2 pixels border on the left and the right, so 2 to 4 pixels, so the entire div will then take 404 pixels of width. That causes some error with our calculations. So I prefer to set the box sizing to border box, so that the border size is also included in the sizing, so that if we set the size of a div to 400 pixels, then it always takes 400 pixels. Okay. So the next thing will be, I don't like the real white color. So I will be changing the background color of the body. So that will be white smoke. That's white but not quite white. So we will be saving that, and let's have a look what it looks like. So you see all these things are squished up together right now, and we will be making it better one by one. So let's just get on going. So the next thing will be to set something for the nav. So I will be setting the background color to, I have chosen color previously, so I will be copying that over here. So that will be my background color. So in this background, white text is actually visible better. So I will default it to serve me white text, but it won't affect it right now because the A tags have separate text, so they don't take this white color. We have to set that separately later, but it is always good to set the color to a default so that people know while changing that this color is the primary color we are targeting. So I will be giving some padding right to this right now, because if let me just save it once. So let's just save and have a look. So right now you cannot see the links because as I said, the white color doesn't affect this right now. So let me just do one thing. Okay. Oh, sorry, not text color. So it will be just color. So I will take set the color to white, and let's see if it is visible now. So they are visible. So you can see that all the links are squished on the top left corner. So we don't want that thing to happen. We want these things to just get in the middle or something like that. So what we'll be doing is adding some padding to the nav. So padding will go on for, I've measured this value previously, so 20 pixels, 40 pixels will be a nice padding, and let's just keep it there right now and let's have a look. So I've zoomed in quite a bit, so that looks much better right now. So the one thing we can do right now is push this thing a little bit down. So if we see the final UI, there is a gapping between these two. So we will be creating a margin bottom of, let's say, 40 pixels will be fine for now. So the next thing you will see is that these things are kind of centered in the web page, whereas our web in our version of this app right now, these are not centered. So what I will be doing is mentioning the container. So in the container, we will do one thing, set its width to 90%, max width. So width setting 90%, if we set its normal width to 90% and apply the margin 0 auto. So this auto margin means it will be give, so two variable margins. So here is one variable, here is one value, sorry, not variable, value. So one value is for x and y, means top and bottom, and these values are for left and right. So 0 auto means there will be no margin on the top and bottom, and there will be automatic margin on left and right, so that the content is centered. So let's have a look right now. So as you can see, it takes up, let me open the DevTools. So if you are wondering how to open the DevTools, that is Control Shift and I to open the DevTools. So let me mention these things. Can I select them? Not right now. So I will be looking to that later. Let me just go on with the code now. So the one thing I can do now is that remove this ugly underlines from here. So what will I do is text decoration none. This removes all the decoration from A tags. So there is it is. So there are no underlines right now. So the next thing we will be doing is making the navigation of a bar look complete. So remember, I had given a class of brand to the first link, which is the web dashboard 0.1, which contains the text web dashboard 0.1. So we will be mentioning that. So to mention a class, you have noticed previously this dot sign is used because we did that with the container as well, dot container, which reference this and this container and gave them that width of 90% of the screen and margin of 0 and auto to center things up. So let's mention our dot brand. So let's make its color white. Color will be white, and font size, I will set up the font size to be 2.6 rem. So rem are some units in the web which are a bit of responsive kind of unit. So they adjust with the browser setting sizes. Means if you set your browser to display large text, then the 2.6 rem will be much bigger. If you set your browser to show small text, then 2.6 rem will be smaller. So having it not set by pixels gives us the advantage of having its size according to the user preference, which is always awesome. You should always think about the user while you are coding something. Mm, just a moment. So uh, let's save this and we will go with the unordered list which was showing the links nav user. So what I did is that this reference, if I hover over it, it shows that this references UL tag inside a nav tag. So if we go inside our code, we have an UL tag inside the nav tag. So that is referenced by this syntax. So okay, so we will be the first thing to do will be list style none so that the list styling is gone. And now if you can see here, all the things are laid side by side. So I will be using flex for that, which is the flex box things in CSS. There are two modern approach to place things in a web page, that is the grid approach and the flexbox approach. So I will be using the flexbox approach here as it is easier to set up according to me, and that's it. So I will be setting that up in the nav container. So the the container inside the nav displays as flex display as flex. So now we save that. See, they are now coming side by side, but as you can see from our final targeted design, this nav is on the right and this is on the left. So what we can do is giving it margin right of auto. So the nav UL will be given margin right of auto, which will, sorry, margin left of auto, because so it will take the maximum available space on the left so that it pushes it to the right. So let's just see what happened here. So yeah, here it is. So our web dashboard heading is on the left and we have links on the right. So the next thing will be to spread this link one by one accordingly. So what we can do is go to our file, and in our UL we can also display it as flex. So displaying it as flex will turn everything into row wise. So let's have a look at the thing. So here are the links, but you can see they are congested to each other and they are on the top. I don't want them on the sticking on the top. I want them on the middle. So the first thing will be we will be doing is that justify content center and align item center, which will bring them to center with this. If you can notice, these are the center line of this and this matches. So the next thing will be to separate them. So I think I should speed up a bit right now. So we can do that. The list items, for them we can have the margin of 10 pixel on the left and right. So I am again using the two value approach to set the margin, and I will be just bumping the font size a little bit. So that's that, and now let's have a look. It looks better. So at this moment, um, the next smart thing will be to just let me think a bit. The next smart thing will be to change the font, because I am not happy with this font. So let's just get to, let me open up the browser and get to font, Google Fonts, and I will be bringing, so in Google Fonts you can get web supported fonts for free. So I will be bringing the, let me just search the font, railway font. I don't know how to spell it. So I will be bringing the regular and the bold. So here is the link to import it in our code. So here under the style sheet, I will be pasting this code. There is also another way to get this code, that is via import statement. So in the standard, we will be doing this, the HTML link href to this. So the next thing will be to specify the font family of our, so let's just save that. And here in the star means all the, so star means selecting all the elements in HTML. So I will be setting the font here so that I don't have to set it everywhere again and again. I know it is not quite a good approach, but I will be doing this. So saving that. So in the dashboard, it looks much better now. Okay, let me just zoom out a bit, and okay, so it looks perfect right now for me. And the next thing will be these activate portions means when they are activated, these kind of and the hover thing. So we can do is I can come right here and say a hover, and here I will, sorry about that, I will be setting the background color to be something else than the current background of the nav, and the text color, is it changing? No, it's not changing, so I will be keeping it that, and I will add a smooth transition. Just so transitions in CSS are just for showing components, means showing animations slowly for some time with some functions. So we will be transitioning our background color, so that will be transitioning in 0.3 seconds. Okay. 0.3 seconds, and that will be ease in out for the animation. So let's see. Okay, that is appearing, but we need some padding there. So what I will be doing is mention some padding here. Padding will be, let's just say 10 for top and bottom and 20 for left and right. That will be fine, I guess. So let's just have a look. Okay, that looks fine. So now the active link has this thing already. So it's really easy to add some CSS properties to another thing. So I will be mention with and comma, we can apply the same CSS set of rules for multiple elements. So there is that a hover, means anchor tag hover. So the next thing I will be mentioning is that active class. So that active class dot active, that will be mentioned as well. So because that will also have that background color, and so let's have a look. Okay, now we have the active color. That looks fine. Now if you can see in my web page, we have the welcome user with an underline. So we will be implementing that in our web page. Luckily, we have only one h1 element, so we will be accessing that h1 element and giving it a font size of 2.5 rem, and we will be giving it a border bottom which gives that throughout underline, because if we take decoration underline it, the text will be underlined, but I want the underline to go all over the, means all over the width of the page. So that will be 2 pixels solid, and that will have this color really close to black. Okay, that's actually black, I guess. So, and I will be setting a margin bottom so that the rest of the element is separated from it. That will be 10 pixels. So let's just see. It looks much better now. But if you can see here, we have this string down in kind of the middle. That's not all the way across the whole width like this. And if you go for bigger screens, that will be a problem with this website. So I will be setting a max width on the container. That will fix the issue with so having this as, sorry, not 2000 will be a bit overkill. 1024 pixels should be fine. So let's set that max width to 1024 pixels, and So now that's shrinked and brought to the center and looks good. So next thing, the card, actually, these cards one by one. Okay. So what we can do is select that section tag and give it a background of white. That will be nice and clean. So having them white background. Okay. So the next thing will be to add some padding to it, because right now we saw that the texts are on the edge of the screen, means edge of the container. So the padding will be here 20 pixels. This is one value padding, means we are passing only one value and it is applied to all the sides similarly. Okay, so that would be that, and I will give them a margin to just separate them, and I will be giving this also 20 pixel of margin. So I would like to add some box shadow as well, which will make it appear nice. 3 pixel, 3 pixel, 2 pixel. Let me see. Did I apply box shadow? No, sorry. So I won't be applying the box shadow because I was previously testing with the code and the box shadow didn't look really nice. So the next thing will be to go for placing them like the picture, means one by one. So what will I do? I will be mentioning the, you remember that I wrapped the sections in a section container, just because that we can place them with flexbox. So I will be doing this display flex, and so saving this. Let's have a look. They are shrinked and fit to one line, which is the problem with flex. So we need to explicitly mention that it can go on next line. So mentioning these as wrap, flex wrap equals to wrap, will ask them to go on next line, which will not appear right now because we need to do some changes. As for the sections, we can set a minimum width for that, which will be, according to me, 400 pixels, and we will be growing that flex to 1 so that the next line thing takes the whole space. So let's have a look. Yes, so as you can see, the layout is here, so it is going awesome right now. So let's go for the sections. H2 tags in the section means these things. So let me just open the browser once again. So these things, okay. So we will add some margin bottom to them so that they are separated from the original content. So the margin bottom will be set to 10 pixels. So that's fine. So the next thing will be to design our buttons container, this thing. Okay, so we will go for, let me be a bit quick and copy the code. So that's this flex direction is column and margin is 10 pixels, so that they are displayed in row one by one. And I will be saying that you can add that flex wrap thing so that if you have more buttons, they can go on the next line easy. So let's have a look what looks like right now. So, okay, the button takes 100% of the width. We need to fix that. Oh, so just a second. Oh, this is the code for button container. So I need to first style a button list. There, this was the code for the container. So let's just do the buttons list first. Forget about the container right now. Buttons list. So that will be displayed at flex and the wrapping will be added automatically. So now how does it look? Did I not save that? Okay, I didn't save that. Let's have a look. So they are displayed side by side. So now will be the time to design the individual containers. Button container. So that will be displayed as flex and flex direction column and margin of 10 pixels. So let's see what does it look. This looks much better. So now we need to separate this H3 from the button. So we will just take the H3 and we will add margin bottom of 10 pixels. Okay, so how does it look now? Much better. So now we need to style the button. So I will be copying the style of button just to be a bit quick because I have a lot of things to cover. So there is padding of 5 and 10 pixels. The background is set to none because that default background is not worth it. So I have set the border to be black and the cursor to be pointed right now, and the transition of background is set for 0.2 seconds, and easy now is the curve. Sorry for that. And on hover, I changing the background color to green yellow. So let's have a look. So the button looks right now much better. Okay, so we will be changing the things up for the final code, this turn on and off later. So the next thing is the weather. So in the weather, you can see I have the text, all the text centered, and there is that temperature and the condition. So the temperature is using a different font. I will be importing that later. Let's just first center the text. For that, at first we need to give a class to the weather so that we can mention it specifically in CSS. Weather. So I will be giving it a class of weather. So that will be dot weather, and so now the main thing will be to text align this to center. So let's see if this brings the change we want. So it is bringing the change we want. All the text are centered. So now let's just mention the temperature. As you can remember that I had added an ID of temp to the temperature and ID of condition to the weather condition just to mention them in the JavaScript. So we can also use them to style this thing as well. So referencing an ID in CSS is really easy. You need the pound sign or the hashtag sign. Then we can go for that temp for temperature, and we will set the font size to be a little bit bigger. 3M will be fine. So I will be separating the color of it a bit because just so that it doesn't mix up with the heading. So color will be set to a light gray. That will be fine. And for the temperature, oh sorry, I just set the temperature. I'm saying wrong. So is there? I do not need any style for the condition right now. So I will be saving that, and let's just bring the font we use here for the temperature. Or this looks fine, I guess. This looks fine. I will go with that. Just I will add margin bottom of 10 pixels so that this thing, these two are separated and it looks now better. So the next thing I will be setting is that set values, and the thing I am going to do is this slide. So the slider, I have referenced the code a bit from, let me just call this W3 school. So I will be pasting that code. Okay. So let me tell you first, the if you want to mention means reference any input tag with a specific thing, means this specific type or parameters, means this type parameter or mean parameter, then you can do it in CSS by just doing that input start bracket open and close, which will mention that we are talking about a property of this element. So here we are input type range, we are mentioning that. Okay, so I will be taking the code from my reference. So this is setting the appearance to be none, means the default appearance is completely removed. So I am setting it to take the full width available to it and height 25 pixels. So background is light gray and no outline. The opacity is set to 0.7 so that while we hover over it, it becomes fully visible, giving a subtle user feedback, which is really important while you are developing a web app. So the transition will be of opacity in 0.2 seconds, and have set a border radius just to make it look nicer. So let's just do the first thing first. On hover, we will make its opacity to be 1, and now the slider. So to mention the slider, we have two things: WebKit slider thumb and Moz range thumb. So these two things are these are for Chrome based browsers, and these are for Firefox based browsers. So what I have done is setting the appearance to none, width and height to 25 pixels, and border radius to 20 pixels so that it becomes a circle set. So next thing, I have added a transition effect of changing the background color and the transform, because I will be changing the transform on hover. So that's done like this. So on hover, I will be changing its scale to 1.2 so it becomes bigger, giving another user feedback. So it is always important to give users the feedback that they are do, they are interacting with something that can do anything in the website. So that will be that. And so let's just save our code and let's have a look. Sorry, this is the browser. Okay, didn't it load? Let me check once. We'll hit appearance none. Just second. Why isn't it working? Input type range, WebKit appearance none. What am I missing? Because previously it worked. It worked on the other side. So why it isn't working here? Let me just do that. Okay. Range hover. So let's keep right at home. Hover with right at home. So let's just save that. And now it's working. Okay. So I was a little bit worried. So let's just explain that again. So we have input of type range. We are setting the appearance to none, setting the width 100%, height 20 pixels, the background to be light gray, and opacity to be 0.7, which is changing to 1 on hover. So transition of opacity to make it subtle, and a border radius to make it look nice. So the slider thumb is given appearance of none. Then it is given a width of 25 pixels, height of 25 pixels, border radius of 20 pixels, so that it becomes circle. This is given a background color of deep green, and on hover, let's just change the color. This won't be here, I guess. So this will be here. On hover, let's change the background color as well. So to add multiple properties in transition, we can say background 0.2 seconds, ease in and out. So this is for sorry, no, I am not doing that. This is for Mozilla, this is for Chrome, and this is the changing of color and scale. So let's just have a look at the final product. Yes, that's working. That's changing color. So right now these values are not changed because we haven't implemented JavaScript yet. But now if we turn it to a smaller screen, so if we go for the mobile view and let's just turn it smaller, smaller, smaller. So here you see that code is breaking apart a bit. So let's just go smaller and it completely breaks. So we need to change some properties. Here comes the responsive design aspect of this project. Okay. I don't ask Visual Studio to go down. So we will be doing some media queries. So let me just, so I have previously experimented with that and I am pasting the code here. So this text says that if our width is below 970 pixels, then set the font size of brand, means the text inside the brand, to be 2rem, means it will become smaller. So the breaking issue will not come right away. So here comes the breaking issue. So the next thing we have done in the 860 pixels media query. So there, let me just copy that. So here is the 860 pixels media query where I have set the flex direction of the nav container to be column. So it will be displaying the items in a column. So which will be looking like this. But can you remember? I had set the margin left to be auto. So this gapping is created. So how to fix that? We can mention another style for that. So margin 0 auto will be centering that, not left siding that. That's okay, but we need some spacing and I will do it really quick with this. And so this part is done. Okay, there's some spacing between them and that looks okay. So if we go a bit smaller, it's okay. It's okay. Now it's kind of breaking because we set the max. If you remember, we set the width of section to be 400 pixels and our container was taking 90% of the screen, so we were missing some of that. So under 400 pixels when we go means around 400 pixels. So the width of the device is currently 429 pixels. So here you can see that it is spilling over. So how to fix that? Let's just add another media query. So I will be copying this. No, let me just copy that thing. So for 550 pixels, so not just here, 500 pixels. For that, we will be going for our section. So there, the only thing we need to set for section is I have written matrix twice, so no need to mention that. I will be setting the min width to 0%. Okay, so that fixes the issue. And now another issue comes. So the text is now left aligned and these are spilling now. Okay, so what we can do is just mention the URL in nav and make them flex direction to be column and mm, and the brand will have the centered text and we will decrease the font size a bit. Text align center and font size is not 0 point, sorry, let's set to 1.2 rem, means 1.5 rem. Let's see now. Okay, so that's fine, but now the list items are not separated quite perfect. So for that separation we can do that li margin of 20 pixels and 20 pixels top bottom, 0 on left right. So that will do that, and 20 pixel is a bit overkill. So I will be doing that 10 pixel. I don't think, okay, that looks fine on mobile devices. So if we go for the bigger screen size, it looks fine. Smaller screen size, this looks fine. So why we need responsive mobile devices? Let's just look at it for a bit. So what is responsive web design? Responsive web design means to make sure our web apps remain usable as well as look nice in mobile devices. If you open some websites, then you will see that this, the contents are overlapping with each other, which was also happening in our website, which I fixed with Media Query one by one. So responsive web design means to make the site responsive and look nice on all mobile devices as well. So why we need responsive web design? So we need this responsive web design just to display the elements properly in the mobile devices. And for now, most of the users are using a smartphone to access a website. So having responsive web design means you are opening the platform for more users. So let's just get out from here. So okay, the UI part is complete. Now let's jump into the JavaScript part. So I will be creating app.js for our application, and don't forget to link it in the HTML with script source tag. So sorry, what is it doing? Source to be app.js. Let's just save that. And in our app.js, the first thing I will be doing is fetching the weather. So let's just just give me 1 second. I will be opening the Open Weather API. So this is the open weather API, which gives me current weather data. So as my city is Kolkata, so I will be using the Kolkata, calling this API with city name. So how does that look? So let me just get my API key, which I have stored here. So I will be disabling the API key once the session is complete. So don't try to copy that. Okay, so they need that API key. So if we mention the city, give the app ID, means the API key, and so we requesting there. So we get the weather. Okay, so here in the weather, we have the main, which we are displaying here, and here is the main temperature. So this temperature is given in Kelvin scale. So we need to convert it to Celsius. We will be looking to it one by one. So let's just start with fetching this data. So I will be storing the API key first. So this will be this, and next we need the URL. So while declaring constants, it is a better choice to write them in all caps so that others understand that this variable is not going to change. So if I can write weather properly, so here is the URL. Let's just bring it from the website. So why I am writing the API key in a separate file, with separate variable, you might ask. That's a good question to be asked. So we are writing the API key in a different file so that if something happens to this previous API key, we can change it. And this approach I am currently doing is not quite good, because then you are exposing the API key to the client, who can access the API key anytime from the browser. So a smarter decision will be to have a backend. The backend store the API key. The backend calls the API, secures, keeps your API key secure, and then you call the backend to fetch the data from the original server. So if you are working with third party APIs, please keep in mind to make sure your API key is safe. So okay, so now how we can insert this here? These and this are same, I know, but how can we? So this is template literal in JavaScript, where you surround a string with two backticks, and then you can use a special character set $sign, and then opening curly brackets, closing curly brackets, and inside that you can mention anything JavaScript. So we will go with the API key. So the API key is stored, means the URL is updated. So the next thing will be to call the API. So it will be an asynchronous function. So what is asynchronous function? So asynchronous functions means the function is called asynchronously without interrupting other tasks in the browser. So we will be doing it asynchronously so that we can await for the results. Means if you are calling an API, then it sometimes takes a lot of time to send you the response. So our job will be to wait for the response, and once the response comes, we will for now console log the weather conditions. So let's just do name the function to be load weather data. It is always nice to have functions for things, so they are easy to find. So let's just do that. Let response equal to await fetch. So I am using fetch API here, calls the open, which will be calling the open weather URL with a get request and give us the response. And the await is for in case the response is a bit delayed. So let's just fetch the open weather URL. So the next thing will be to get the data out of that response. That's really simple. Just turn the response to JSON by calling the method JSON on it. And we need to await for that as well, because that's not coming really soon, because this will be the response will be waiting for this, the data will be waiting for the response and its conversion. So they are awaiting for the events to happen. Otherwise we will get a promise which is out of the domain of this webinar. So let's just do our next thing. So let's, if we open the API response, you can see in the weather we have the description and in the main we have the temperature. So we will be getting the temperature data dot main dot temp, main dot temp. As I said, that was in Kelvin, so to convert it to Celsius we will be minusing 273 from it. Rough figures, don't judge me. So the next thing will be to fetch the conditions data. Wait a second. Uh, Data dot main, no, data dot weather dot main. That was the thing, I guess. And data dot weather dot main. Okay. So what I am doing is inside JavaScript object, if you are looking for some key, these are the keys. So if you are looking for some keys, then you go with dot this and dot this. Like that, you can mention dot weather, dot description, dot main, or means the data is the complete thing which is coming here. This is the complete data. So we are doing that. Data dot weather dot main means this will be fetched, and data dot main dot temperature means data dot main dot temperature. So this will be brought in. So let's for now just console log the result, log the result of temperature and condition. So let's just see what's happening now in our app. Let me close the open with the thing right now. So let's just refresh the page. Let's wait for the response. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. I need to call the function if we really want our JavaScript to be accessing this function, means running this function. So let's just save and look at the way. So okay, the temperature is showing fine. The condition is showing undefined. Data dot weather dot main. I think I have misspelled weather somehow. Okay, just a second. Okay, sorry, I've opened the new tab. Just let me refetch the API. I have the API key copied. Okay, so there was weather dot may. Okay, so I think I have misspelled weather. Did I spell the condition correctly? Okay, let's just see what happens. Mm, so why is it showing undefined? Um, data that weather dot main. Hmm. Oh, sorry. So that's why you need to see the uh, JSON properly. So it is returning an array. As you can see, the third bracket means an array. So what we need to do is to mention the zeroth element of the array, and then so this is actually a JavaScript object array. So here is one object. There can be multiple objects. So here is only one object. In that object, we have a description and a main. So this will be whether zeroth element of the array, and then in that object we are mentioning the main. So that will be that. And now let's see. So his. Okay. So now we need to show this in document object model, i.e. DOM. So remember, I had given ID to temperature and condition. So let's just mention that on our JavaScript. So to get HTML elements in JavaScript, it will be really easy. Document dot get element by ID. So we are getting the element with this ID. So we need to mention the ID of temp, that is the temperature, and so DOM condition will be document dot get element by ID condition. So let's just save that, and now we need to update the values. So let's just DOM condition dot inner. So we can say two things, inner HTML and inner text. I will say if you better use inner text for the thing, because if sometimes any cross-site scripting or anything happens, inner text is much secure than inner HTML. You can set inner HTML when you know what you are actually doing with the DOM. So I will say that it is safer to go with inner text. We are going to use inner HTML later in this code, but for now, let's just set the inner text to the condition, and sorry, DOM temperature dot inner HTML dot inner text will be temperature. So let's just keep them console log. So that's enormous number, 19.14999997. So we need to round off this to two decimal places. That can be easily done with the two fixed property of the floats in JavaScript. To fix two, it will be shrinking our float to two decimal places. So let's just have a look at the web app. So now 19.15, that looks much better than 19.14999997. Okay, so the weather condition is updating properly. So that's nice progress, I will say. So let's just make our lights dynamic. So for that, I will be first creating an array of lights. So let light equal to an array of, this will be an array of objects. So here are the two lights, and here I have mentioned in comments that false means off and on true means on. So status false means that device is turned off, and status true means the device is turned on. Okay, so we will first be rendering these lights instead of our dummy HTML lights. Let's mm, keep them side by side, which will be better. And let me increase the font size a bit if it is going to do. Okay, that is a lot bigger. Oh, that will be fine. So here are the lights. So as you can see, we have rendered the light normally right now, but in the case of a web app, these lights will be most probably coming from a server, so it will be rendered via JavaScript. So as we are using no frameworks, in case of frameworks, it is really easy. Sorry about that. So in case of frameworks, if we fetch the data, it is easier for these things to happen, but we are doing it manually, so it will be a little bit tough, but I will be guiding you through it. So just create a function for rendering lights. So in this function, the first thing will be to loop over the list of lights dot for each. So for each is a loop function which will loop through each and every element in an array. So for each element will be taken and the function will be run on it. So we need to get this button list. So as it is the only element with the class buttons list, so we can get it with class. If there are multiple things, then so let me just show you this. Const DOM button list. So that will be document dot get element by, sorry, not id, because let's do one thing. Let's just give it an id of buttons list. So get element by id of buttons list. So the content is brought in, means this thing is brought in JavaScript. So the first thing we'll be doing is, before even rendering these lights, we need to clear out the HTML dot inner HTML. So I am using here inner HTML because I know what I am doing, what data is coming right now. Okay, so that will be that, and for each element we need to set the HTML to something else. Means DOM button list dot inner HTML will be added up with some HTML code. So we have the HTML code of each button container in the HTML. So we will be copying that and using that. So in the H3, we are storing the name. So instead of this, we will be using the template literal again to display our elements device name, and on the button we have a bit to change. Let's just keep it turned on right now, and let's just see if our new buttons are rendered or not. So oh, I have again forgot to run the function. So here will be render lights. So let's just save that, and okay, inner HTML of null, what just happened. So 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 inner HTML of nu Let me see that. Hmm, hmm. Button, please child, okay. Save that HTML, sorry. So save that HTML, the ID change was not accepted. So, okay, the two lights are coming, light one and some other machine one. Okay, these are the two names, light one and some other machine one. So that's good. So we need to now turn on and off these devices. So for that, we need a bit of change in the button. So I am cutting down a bit. So just I will be changing the text based on the condition. So element dot status off and that will be on. So all the one of the devices is false, means this is off and this is on. So let's see what happens now. So here is JavaScript code. This is ternary operator. This checks a boolean. If it is true, this will happen. If it is false, this will happen. So it is like an if else statement, but in a single line. So let's just look. So the first device says turn on because it was false, means off. So the second device says turn off, which was actually on, but we need to turn that off. Okay. So I will not be implementing the change of this in this code because it is getting too long, I guess. Okay. So um, let's. Should I finish here? Means the last thing I can implement right now is the button change. Means on click it will change. Should I go for that or is it getting too long? Chat. Anyone? Mhm. So okay, so let's just go for the button. Means I will change the condition of on and off. So we will need a on click event listener in the button. So we will do that on click, and on click we will be changing the status of the devices. So the best thing here will be to add a function to change on click. We will call a change status function with the element id passed in dot device id. So the this is the template literal again, just to mention the JavaScript things, and the change status is a function which we have not implemented yet, but we will implement really soon. So let's just go for that. So I will be implementing the function change status. So we are receiving the device ID here. You can see the change status. We are passing the device ID here. So we will be receiving that here, device ID, because we need that to change the status. So in the JavaScript framework, if anything is stored in the state, the one thing you need to do is to change the variable's value entirely. So here are some methods in array, so that without even changing the reassigning the array, we can change the values, but that are not applicable and suitable for the JavaScript framework thing. So what I will be doing here is rewrite the array with the map function, which is a higher order array function which returns an array while looping over the array and changing things. Okay, so you let's just go for that. Let's just be lights will be equal to lights dot map. So when we map things, we will be getting the element. So why we are accessing, so we need to change the status of that element which matches this device ID. So we will go for if element dot device ID is equal with the device ID we have passed in, we need to change the element status. Element dot status is will be the complement of, this is the not which does the complement of the thing. So element dot status, so that changes the status, and now we will return our element. So in these kind of higher order array methods, you need to return what you are doing. Means in the map we need to return the value. There are some other higher order array functions like filter, when we need to return true or false based on whether the element will be in the array or will not be. That's another higher order array function. So just return element from here. So what this code does, this code takes our light array. So this code is called when we click this button, change status. Okay, if we click this button, this event is called with the device ID passed in. So if the device ID is passed in, then we go for lights.map, which is an higher order array function which will return a new array. So we are mapping this array, sorry for that. So for each element, if the element ID, element the device ID is triple equal to the device ID, means exactly matches the device ID along with the type and the value, it matches, then we will be setting the status of our element to be its opposite and we will return the element. But this alone won't do enough. So we need to re-render our light list. So we will be re-rendering that, and for now a hacky way to do inform user the change will be alert status change successful. Okay, so let's just now try our button. So it is turned on and it is turned off. So if we click on this, so I think any error is happening. So change status is not defined. I think I have missed it. Oh, I've written here change status and I have written here change status. So let's just fix that quickly. Let's just click that. So status change successful, turn off. Okay, so I am not doing the fancy hover effect right now, means the red and green color change, because we are, I think, a bit short on time. So I will be jumping on the sliders, and if I get some time, I will be mentioning how to do that color change thing. Okay, so let's just go for our sliders. So I will be again declaring an array. So these are for devices with ranged values. So device 1, intensity 1. So I am assuming that these are for light intensities. So that will have a value of 12 and the next one has a value of 33. So it is similar to our render lights. So I will be copying this. So we will be saying this render slider, and we need to mention the sliders right now. So I will be saying this slider container an ID of slider container, and I will save that. And let's just say const dom slider list will be document dot get element by ID slider container slider fields. I should have shared that. Okay, no problem. So let's just save that, and now in the render slide we will be saying dom dot dom slider list dot inner HTML will be set to blank initially. Then for live, I have given this range devices. Sorry, range devices. That for each element we will be updating the slider list, and we have the HTML code for that because we were okay. So I have put the ID in the wrong place. Sorry. That will be there, and we will be copying the individual element slider container. So that will be pasted here. So this is going to be the name element or device name to be precise, and this will be the element dot value, and for here the value will be also set to be element dot value. So no problems with that. If we save this and run the render sliders now, saving that and saving that as well. So you can see that was 70 and 71 in the previous, and now they are on 12 and 33, the values we set in the JavaScript. So what about the update? So here was on click, here we need on update. So let me just double check to be just sure. Okay, that will be on change. So when it is changed, this event will be fired. So we name this event to be update value, and I will be passing in the ID of the device again so that it is easier for us. Sorry, element dot device ID, we will be passing that, and so in update value function update value we will be doing a small thing. So we need to get the value. So the ID is passed in. So I will be naming that device ID. So in the update value, we need to do the similar thing as here. We need to update the value. Okay. So the thing will be okay. Let me think it once. So I will be giving this an ID now so that I can mention it later. So it will be calculated using JavaScript. It will be inside this ranged device and plus mm, element dot device ID. Okay, that will be the ID of that. So we need to get this element first because the value when is updated, this value needs to be reached out, means pulled out and used. Okay, so value to use, sorry, to use will be our document, sorry, document dot get element by id of that template literal. I will be copying that range device element id. So in this case it will be just device id. Okay, so we got that and we need to access the value here. So we got the value to use, and now we can change the array uh, as we did in the previous segment, means for the buttons. So range devices dot for each element we will be going in, and if, sorry, device id matches with element dot device id, then we will do element dot value to update with value to use. Okay, and then we need to at first return the value, return, we will be returning the element, and so finally we need to re-render the render, we need to recall the render slide. So let's just save it for the last time, and now if we slide the slider, sorry about the right click, that value changes along with this value to 85, 36, 88. So that's it for today's session. I have implemented the slider, the temperature. Oh, one thing, I have written the temperature but not written the degree Celsius. Let's just fix that quickly. Where is that code for temperature fetching? So plus, okay, I have written double plus. So where is that? So it will be HTML because I am going to again use that degree sign. So let's just get that degree Celsius and save that, because this only works on HTML, not on plain text. Okay, so this is inner HTML. So let's just set that, and so now it's showing nice and clean degree Celsius. The weather condition, the sliders are working. We can turn on and off our lights, and that's fine. And I think that will be it for this video, and let's just see if I have any slides left. I, so Q&A, if anyone has to ask anything, you can write it in the chat and I will be seeing that. So do anyone have any question?
Hello, I am audible.
Yeah,
Yep. So we had one question earlier. How does the app show the current temperature? Does it take data from Google, or it is connected to a temperature sensor? So I guess your question is answered already in the video.
yes, yeah. This,
Yep.
that is, the temperature is fetched from the Open Weather API. Let me just show that once again, if anyone is wondering how to get that. So I will be going to this Open Weather API link. So here is the Open Weather API where you can get the, you need to just sign in. You will get the API key and you can call for the current weather by city name, by ID and geographic coordinates and all that. So one thing to update about this app is that I am using the Kolkata location directly. You can ask the user for the location and update the temperature so that show the weather conditions using the geographic coordinates. Okay, so that will be fine in using this. So there, this API is really well documented, and I prefer this API for making any small weather app. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so let's just get to the end then. Okay, wait a second.
Okay. So guys, I think there aren't many questions on this session
Hmm.
as we are having a lot of live coding in
Okay.
the session. I request all of you to try this session, the entire code once after the session is over. It will be a good practice of the web development skills that you already have, or you might start with various courses on YouTube or various free courses from Udemy and Datacamp.
Okay,
I
just let me take over now. And so, what to do next? So, this app doesn't have any proper backend. So, it will be nice to learn some backend, some database, and implement that in this app so that the light list, which I hard coded in the JavaScript, you can fetch it from the backend database and update that. So that will be a good next step to do. And another thing is that you can make it a progressive web app so that it can work offline as well. Means even if you don't have the internet, the some things can render just so that this device is offline, or that these permissions are needed, or that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of potentials to work with this app, and this is not a complete app, I would say. So that's it. Thank you for watching. And if you want to see my portfolio, that's on ashmanbthakur.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at ashmanbthakur. And I write blog posts in my portfolio as well. You can follow that blog post as well. So thank you.
So Ayushman, we thank you for this session, and those who have participated in this session, we also thank them for being patient with us. Um,
Yes, it was a really long session.
okay, we
Mm.
understand that feature too. Anyway, you guys can also have a look at the GitHub code which will be uploaded in this video description soon, or also in our Facebook page at DCKGEC. Make sure that you do follow that too. We thank you. Have a great time ahead. And please wait for the next session while one of our next speaker will continue with this same app, interfacing it with a real-time node app using IoT.